If I were you, I wouldn't be asking you about my story and my backstory because none of that matters.
Sure.
If I were you, I'd be finding e-com entrepreneurs and say, yo, you get money on e-com?
Yeah.
Tell me your worst story. Tell me your nightmare.
Right.
My whole podcast would be about the nightmare of e-com entrepreneurs who get their money out or are having these issues.
Sure.
We wrap the whole podcast around it. When you think of podcasts, you think of two people talking, interviewing them about their story.
Sure.
Which is what you're doing now.
Sure.
But you have no business doing that. It doesn't matter. My story is everywhere.
Okay.
All the people you're going to interview, their stories are everywhere.
Yeah.
So, but I do have a segment called the Hot Seat, where I take an entrepreneur that's struggling in their business or wants to get to that next level.
I feel like I'm in the hot seat right now.
That's what I do, man.
All right, guys, welcome to Success on Repeat. All right, guys, welcome back to Success on Repeat. Thanks for tuning in. What a blessing it is to have you here with us today. We've got an exciting podcast episode for you today. We're in Tampa, Florida at the JW Marriott. We're living it up, masterminding, having a good time. And I have with me today none other than David Shands himself from Social Proof. I'm very excited. Thank you guys so much for being here, man.
Thank you for having me, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah, no, it is. It is exciting. So, you and we just met, right? And so I've been having conversations with people all week, masterminding and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But one of the keys of a lot of the industry growth that a lot of people are having or not having has to do with their communication skills, their ability to promote and to get out there and things like that. And so for us in our business of, coaching and in helping, guys that are trying to develop a residual income, whether it's through, merchant services or payroll processing or loan broker, you name it. We've got, actually the list is getting bigger and bigger as we go, you obviously use podcasts to do a whole myriad of stuff. So I'm interested to hear about your success, where you're at now. And then I kind of want to go through like maybe the zero to hero story, if you have one. Not the zero.
That was for sure below zero at one point.
Below zero.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, you don't like wake up successful and really like what is success? Because you're successful depending on who you're standing next to.
That's right. That's all relative. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sitting there talking to Daniel Priestley yesterday and realized how unsuccessful I am.
Yeah. It's funny. I was talking to Daniel Priestley yesterday and I had a similar revelation.
Oh, no. Yeah, it depends on who you're standing next to. So, but I mean, you don't come out the womb accomplishing things.
Yeah.
So, quick story. I worked at the Cheesecake Factory for 6 years. Before that,
I love the Cheesecake Factory.
I mean, it's better eating there than working there.
Sure, no doubt.
But before then, I worked at Olive Garden, and I had a job doing security before that. I worked at Circuit City. Then before that, Applebee's. I was in college trying to figure it out. Sold a little weed. Wasn't good at it.
Yeah.
So I just got this story of just trying stuff, man. And eventually, I found something that I can really sink my teeth in and stopping stuff.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, you start and stop, and you start and stop. You do something else with your brand, do something else. I just decided that I got to stop stopping stuff. And I went full-fledged with that. That was the thing that let me leave my job 2.5 years later. This t-shirt brand called Sleep is for Suckers.
Sleep is for Suckers.
It geared towards entrepreneurship.
Right.
Let's lose and sleep, do what they love.
Yep.
So that led into teaching entrepreneurship, and led into coaching, and led into events, which led into the podcast.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like my story in a 2 minute.
Yeah, in a nutshell. So I mean, working in a restaurant, there's nothing wrong with working in a restaurant, right?
Unless you don't want to be there.
Unless you don't want to be there. That's exactly right. And I think that that's one of the issues that people have is they have a dream. And, it's funny, my mind was blown also with Benjamin Hardy today.
Yeah, crazy.
Exactly. I'm just, I'm trying to wrap my mind around how to set something like that, but the whole point is that you can't wrap your mind around it, right? You just always have to set a goal and go for it. When you were listening to him talk about stretch goals or changing your frame so that you would find a different, what did that do to you? What were your thoughts? What were you thinking is the goal for you? That seems impossible, the impossible goal.
I don't know if I got that from that presentation. So
okay,
you ever be listening to something captures you, And everything else is said, you're listening, but you're not really listening because your mind is working on the thing that you caught. So the thing that I caught in the message that I'm leaving with is a bunch of stuff I just need to start saying no to and quitting. So there's like this there's a goal that I want.
Yeah.
But I'm realizing that all of the things that I do are taking away from that particular goal. And it's convoluting my brain, kind of. Like some of the things that I'm doing. And he was saying that there's some things on your calendar that shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And don't belong on there.
That's right.
And he said, you may not want to do it because you don't want to rock the boat and you don't want to make other people uncomfortable.
That's right.
And I just realized all the stuff I got to quit. And there's some really big stuff I got to quit that make me good money, actually.
Yeah. Right.
Which is uncomfortable. So
That
like
is
the anxiety. So I lock into this one spot. So we talk about the big goals, unattainable. I got the notes. I'll review them later, but
yeah,
that wasn't what arrested me.
Well, it sounds like maybe you already have a goal that is unattainable if you don't start doing those things, like cutting those things out so that you can focus where you're supposed to focus.
Well, my thing is I have a goal that is attainable, but it's not going to be attainable with doing all the stuff that I'm doing. Okay.
Yeah.
Unattainable goal might be a figure. I didn't make $100 million, right?
Sure.
And it's not necessarily my goal, but
it ain't bad. It's better than a sharp stick in the eye.
Bro, but even the stuff you can accomplish that you haven't been accomplishing is because of all the stuff you've been doing.
Yeah.
So I probably took something from his message that he didn't intend to give.
Sure.
But when I hear information, I take what I need.
That's right.
I make my own little gumbo.
Right.
And eventually I'm sure I'll look at my notes and be like, okay, we need to set a bigger goal.
Yeah.
But what impacted me the most was the attention and the focus and how I need to talk to the team and tell them about how big the thing is and the progress and things of that nature. So it was a phenomenal presentation.
Yeah. No, my mind was blown a little bit too. Well, what's weird is he was describing the changes that it makes. So if you're already setting goals, you're already a high achiever, then I think that what you're describing is changes that you've realized you need to make in order to actually hit the goal that you had already set.
Yes.
But also that the pieces of this puzzle, that maybe you're not doing other things that you should be doing. And the reason you're not doing them is because you're filling your calendar with these other things that you should be doing. So I think that probably speaks to people that are watching, because when you set a goal for $100 million, all of a sudden there's all this stuff that you're doing that is just absolutely pointless.
For sure.
Right. And he brought up Elon Musk saying, how Elon Musk talks about, you're optimizing things that shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, that's what middle management does a lot of times. Right. And then one day somebody comes in that's a big visionary and just wipes it all out, and everybody's left holding the bag like, well, what's going on? It's because the previous leadership wasn't visionary. Right. They weren't doing it. So that's interesting. So, all right. So you came from a place to a new place, right?
Yeah.
And there was a gap in the middle. Do you think that you're the same person today than you were then?
Of course not.
Of course not.
I'm not the same person I am today as I was yesterday. I heard a presentation with new information.
That's right.
I am totally different.
Yeah.
And I think even when you get to conferences, you are different. And then you go home and then forget how different you are. And it's very possible to revert back to who you were before you came to the event, because you were hyped, you were excited.
Yeah.
But if you don't start implementing stuff now and making decisions now, so there's some calls that I have to make now so that when I get home, they remind me of what happened, of the feeling. So I'm locked in, because if I don't move on a feeling now,
accountability.
When I get home, it's not as important.
Right.
Because we're so far removed from the information. So
I was talking about people only do things for one reason.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like it.
Correct.
Right now you feel like it.
Yeah.
Why? Because you're surrounded by all this energy. It's like going to, I don't know if people have been to church camp, you get all excited for Jesus, and then, one day or you get done with the week of church camp and you have all these lifelong friends that you're going to be friends with forever. And then 3 months later, you can't remember their names 100%. And you've lost the fire, so to speak, 100%. Right? So this is human nature that we're dealing with. And so then what would you say? I mean, you gave us one, right? To go ahead and call you part of your team and say, hey, we're doing this now, so that you don't forget when you get home, right? But what else can you do internally to make sure that when you come and you receive information, you watch a a podcast or somebody's transformational course or whatever, or you go to a conference or whatever it is, that you receive that life-changing information that does change you to prevent yourself from reverting back?
I think there's a couple of questions in there. But in preparation,
something there, yeah.
For preparation before you get there, you got to go with intention. I only came here for one reason, not to be excited or, I came for a specific reason. I have an event coming up and I need to make an offer, but I'm a little confused on the offer, so I came here.
And just so you guys know, we're at Offer Mastery Live in Tampa, Florida. Just kind of clear that up. But so then this event you're throwing, what's the event?
Oh, Podcast Summit. So really, so last year we had about 750 people there. We'll have 1,500 people this year in Atlanta. So we're teaching people how to start, grow, and monetize a podcast.
Okay.
But from so many different angles. Like there are beginners who don't know how to set this stuff up.
Sure.
So we got to teach them how to set this stuff up. There's some people who have a show and maybe it's not growing the way they want it to grow. Well, I got to teach you how to grow your show, not only the show itself, but all the ancillary things around it. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. How do we grow on YouTube, all these platforms that grow the show all together? And there's obviously some people that want to monetize or they wouldn't be doing it, but you don't need 1 million downloads or followers to monetize a podcast. You just have to create a business model and use the podcast to promote the business model. There's a lot of people with hundreds of thousands of views that don't make any money.
Yeah.
So we're covering the whole gamut of podcasts.
It's funny you say that. I don't have a huge audience, but it blows my mind that I put videos out on the interwebs, right?
Yeah.
And that people contact me and want to work with us.
It's crazy.
It is absolutely crazy. But why? Because I have a business already that is already monetized, so to speak, and that this is just one avenue that we use in order to monetize it, right? And that people will contact us and reach out. But to that point, that's cool that you got the summit coming up. What are the dates of the summit?
July 4th and 5th.
July 4th and 5th.
There's about 30 speakers that know what they're doing.
And that's this year?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe you can give us a little taste because, obviously we have a podcast, right? Success on Repeat's our podcast. I've been podcasting for 6 years, a Bible podcast, really niche, called Christians with Torah. Y'all should check that out. That goes over, it's real deep study into the Bible for kind of a specific, like messianic, Hebrew root style folks that are getting into like Sabbath and feast days and just cool.
You celebrate the feast?
Oh yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. Oh, yeah, we just finished Feast of Pentecost.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
See, my people are everywhere. This is one of the things. I was talking to one of your guys, and I said something about. He asked me what the name of my podcast was. I said, "Well, we have Success on Repeat, but I've had Christians with Torah." He says Torah. There's certain words that will cue people into certain conversations and certain energies.
Yeah, but that makes it incredibly difficult to even introduce yourself because you're like promoting a few different things.
I don't disagree with that. That's why we've stopped Christians with Torah.
Okay.
Christians with Torah is
why? Because business was more important than Christ?
Is sunset? Oh no. Because let me just tell you, and the people that watch this know that if they work with me, I'm going to teach them how to make money, right? But where your treasure is, there your heart will be also.
Yeah, for sure.
So once you have the treasure, you have the heart. They're going to be disciples.
Yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
Because especially if they want to work with us as a brand to sell, my brand is very important to me, and I will not having people represent us that are not, in line with our brand, right? Yeah. So the discipleship piece is there, but I'm interested for a little preview of this summit of what we can do, or what things you think that we should be doing in order to promote and expand the reach of our podcast.
Where are you at now?
So we're small. I mean, we're a few hundred. We just started probably 6 months ago with just the channel. We're bagging episodes for the podcast. The podcast, we're doing a launch, and for this particular one. And now it's about promoting to all the avenues that we can promote. So maybe from that perspective, there's probably a lot of people in that spot. Maybe they haven't taken as much action as we have. We've been doing the iterations off the scene or offline in order to get to the point where we can have a really positive launch, right? Because there's certain things, like you said, things that we're going to take out.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Before we just start putting random stuff out there, because I think less episodes but higher quality is maybe, especially in the beginning, more important than, or maybe even later on. I don't know. Yeah. You tell me. You're the
I mean, it kind of depends.
Yeah.
I think first and foremost, you have to have a good show. And I think people are looking for some sort of growth tool without having a good show. The skill set,
there's no substitute for being good,
of creating an engaging conversation is so rare. Like, I don't know, for me, I study communication and I study people and how to pull the most out of them.
Okay.
It's not a successful show if someone doesn't say, you know what, I never told anybody this before, but here you go. Or if we don't tell me the personal stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Or we don't get like real, you know what I mean? Like, it's an art form.
Yeah, some vulnerability.
Yeah, it's an art form, bud. I'm pretty much every podcast I do, I'm intentionally looking for a way to disagree with them.
Okay.
I'm going to interview Daniel Priestley today.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to find a way to disagree with him.
That'll be cool.
And make him defend his answer.
Yeah.
Because that's how conversations go, right? It's not, an interview says, I ask you a question, you answer it.
Yeah.
And when you're done answering it, I ask you another question.
Right.
And we do that for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's not how conversations go.
No.
If I'm talking to one of my friends, my best friend, I cut him off all the time. He cuts me off all the time. I'm telling the story. Like, yo, I'm hanging out at this restaurant. This girl comes up to me. He like, what she look like? What she look like? No, just tell me, just work out. I'm like, she was attractive, bro. Like, when you say attractive, like, scale of 1 to 10, was she like 10? No, this is a conversation that we're having, right?
For sure.
He's not going to let me finish because there's an energy there, right? And if I say something like, yeah, man, so, you know, the only option I had was to do A, B, and C. They're like, why would you do that? Nah, bro, you're supposed to do C, B, and A.
Yeah.
Why would I do that?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense, right? So this is the conversation, the energy that I will be having with my friend.
Right.
So this is just one of the things that, like, we need to learn about the art of communication, and not even just interviews. Like, you could take this out to dates. You can take it out to people you want to build relationships with.
Sure.
Right? So you have to have a good show and study the craft.
Okay. Yeah. So number one is there's no substitute for being good.
No substitute.
Okay.
No substitute.
Okay. So then let's say you're mediocre. Mm-hmm. Okay. But you're on your way and you're studying the craft and you're getting better. Yeah. What would be step 2?
Decide. Yeah. Get better.
It's okay. All right.
I think the better you get.
Right.
Here's my advantage. For about a year and a half, I did the podcast not even thinking that it makes money. I didn't know you could make money.
Yeah. You're trying to be interesting.
I was doing a conference, and I had this idea. The tickets were moving slow. I said, you know what? I'm going to interview all the people that are speaking at the conference, and hopefully some people see this, like the person that I'm interviewing, and they buy a ticket. Yeah. So my objective was to pull the ball. I'm just trying to have an engaging conversation.
Yeah.
So for a year and a half, I'm just focused on having a good show and upgrading the cameras, making it look better, making it sound better.
Little by little, yeah.
No one's listening to the audio right now.
Right.
Which means there's a possibility that there's a frequency or something goes out.
Yeah.
Or none of this is actually being recorded.
Oh, yeah.
And I was using a Canon 7D, which it stops recording every like 28 minutes.
Right. 20. Yeah, exactly. 29 minutes it does. Yeah. Which is why we use the HM to record.
But what I'm saying is there's so many things that can go wrong with you sitting here and all this stuff working here, right? Yeah. So my objective was, let me have a good show. What's the best way of having a good show? Not having to worry about if that's recording, so I need somebody sitting there. Yeah. Just to, look, you sit there, press this button, just listen every now and again, make sure the audio is working. Yeah. Do that, because then I could just focus on the interview. Yeah. You're not split. Yeah. And then eventually somebody says, yo, I see somebody with some really good camera, like a really good podcast. I put theirs next to mine. I'm like, their stuff looks better than mine. Yeah. How you do that? And they're like, yo, you need to get a better lens. Yeah. So you're using the stock lenses, the lens that comes with the camera. Yeah. So invest some money into getting a better lens. Sure. And better visual presentation. And then we invest in getting better mic. We need to have a good show. Yeah. If you have a good show, people will watch it. If people watch it, you make money. That's right. But we want to skip to, okay, no. Okay, I get it. We have a good show. How do I, have a good show first. Okay, yeah. Have a quality product. Yeah. Okay, so that's good. And you just gave like a whole bunch of tips to me. No, I'm getting schooled here on what we should be doing in order to improve the product. So that's good. And And what is your business?
So payment processing. My business is Champion Payments. We own a payment processing firm. We process payments. Probably 60% of our clients are restaurants. The other 40% are a hodgepodge mixture of different stuff. We've moved a lot more into software integrations and e-commerce and coaches and consultants and stuff like that, because we have a niche in that space, especially because you promote more. Those are the guys that are watching stuff. You know what I mean? They're the ones that are consuming content. You talk about like, hey, Stripe held my money, which that is, look, I get into a room like this, somebody starts talking about Stripe, they're like, oh, I got a guy, you know, and it's just like, you know, because Stripe and Square and PayPal, even look, Myron stood on stage and said, PayPal is the devil. The only thing worse than PayPal is counterfeit currency.
That's a fact.
Right? So, so then what does that do for me, right? It puts me in a position in that room to where like, look, guys, not only do I agree, I can tell you why, what happens behind the scenes. You're not interested in that. I can make it so that your money doesn't get held for 45 days before somebody will talk to you.
That's
right? Which is a huge, I mean, I think about like caterers that use, say, Square, which is just an entry level, you know, you can download the app on your phone, in 5 minutes you can be processing. Well, the reason you can be processing in 5 minutes is because they didn't underwrite you. They didn't actually do the job of making sure that you were not a risk issue. So then when you start processing some real payments, you do $10,000, $15,000 or something like that, all of a sudden they're like, whoa, we got to take a look now. So they send you an email and say, we're going to hold this money for 45 days and we're going to look at it in 45 days. There's nobody to talk to. It's just an email that you received. There's really no recourse. And now you have this catering gig that you have to buy all the food for and pay all the staff for that you don't have the money for. Now you may still get your money, right, at some point, but you don't want to be waiting 45 days to get it.
Let me ask you, if I didn't ask you that question, would you have went down that path of?
No, absolutely not.
What?
Yeah.
The problem is, if our goal is to use the podcast to grow our business, if I were you, I wouldn't be asking you about my story and my backstory because none of that matters.
Sure.
If I were you, I'd be finding e-com entrepreneurs and say, yo, you get held money on e-com?
Yeah.
Tell me your worst story. Tell me your nightmare.
Right.
My whole podcast would be about the nightmare of e-com entrepreneurs who get their money out or they're having these issues.
Sure.
We wrap the whole podcast around it.
Sure.
Because only the people that are listening, this conversation matters to them.
Right.
And in there somewhere, you're going to have a commercial or at the end or a link below to drive money to your business. This podcast can make you $1 million to your business, or you can just wait for 1 million views and not make any money by getting people's stories. All right. I have a podcast called Social Proof Podcasts, and I interview entrepreneurs. And I'm on the verge of not doing that anymore.
Stop.
I'm not doing that anymore.
Okay.
Because everybody, even like when you think of podcasts, you think of two people talking, interviewing them about their story.
Sure.
Which is what you're doing now.
Sure.
But you have no business doing that. It doesn't matter. My story is everywhere.
Okay.
All the people you're going to interview, their stories are everywhere.
Yeah.
So, but I do have a segment called the Hot Seat, where I take an entrepreneur that's struggling in their business or wants to get to that next level.
I feel like I'm in the hot seat right now.
That's what I do, man. And I'll cook them for 45 minutes.
Okay. Yeah.
Right, Corey? So she was on the hot seat.
The seat's getting a little warm.
Oh my God. You know? She was on the hot seat. Listen, man, I told her sister was stealing from her. I told her she doesn't know what she's doing. But she went back. Yo, she retooled and she is killing it right now.
Yeah. Now she's cooking other people.
Oh, bro. And I'm sure a lot of people, actually my wife wound up getting a gown for my daughter from her because of the exposure, right? But I want to go that direction.
Right.
Because when everybody zigs, I zag.
Yeah.
So that's a part of what I'm teaching that podcast.
Okay, so then let me ask you, for our business, obviously we have already a quasi-successful payment processing firm.
Yeah.
And the media that we're doing, the current vision for our media is to promote to those guys that want to get into our business based on what we're doing. And we could train them, teach them. We have the course, we got the funnel, we got all that stuff set up, ready to go, right? Rinse and repeat.
No.
However, there's also this other side, because payment processing is super competitive, right? But it's not always that sexy. So your idea there that kind of is talking about those negative pieces or these e-com guys, but then whoever they are, whatever industry it is that we're working on, targeting, we bring those guys in, right? And so for us, coaches and consultants is one of our targets because we have payment processing for coaches and consultants, guys that podcast, guys that sell courses online, because they've got so much heartburn because all of them start with Stripe.
Why would a podcast be considered a coach or consultant?
Good question. The guys that I pay attention to maybe are usually coaches and consultants, and
But you like asked me my relationship with payment processing.
Okay, tell me your relationship with payment processing.
I just pick one. I don't have a nightmare.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's good.
No, it's not, because I'm the wrong person to be on this podcast.
Okay.
Because now we have no context for your business.
Sure.
So my first question is like, yo, you're a coach. What you using? Stripe?
Yeah.
The whole money ain't it? And I would say, well, no, not really.
Yeah.
What they say, well, which one do you use? Like, what are your fees? I would have that conversation first.
Sure.
And then once they say, yo, they holding $100,000 right now. That's when you say, yo, can you be on my podcast?
Yeah. Interesting.
Let's have a conversation.
Okay.
You can educate me. Then you become the authority.
So that's on the actually bringing in merchants to us, right? On the side of, say, recruiting agents, Success on Repeat, the idea is to give them success principles, get them to become the person that can do the thing, right? What types of guests would you bring on for that?
Well, it's the same guests. The same guests.
Except in this case, we're recruiting guys 18 to 35 that need to start making residual income, right? So we're focusing on a group of mostly males, right? Some females, but mostly guys. That, are working in 9 to 5. Maybe they're successful in sales, working for ADP or Paychecks or something like that. What types of guests would you bring on to target those guys?
It's the same guest, bro.
Yeah.
If I'm having a problem in my processing, you're asking the same questions, and in your response to the stories, you're saying, well, I got this one guy, because we do things differently, they're making $6,000 a month, $10,000 a month, $20,000. It's the same problem. The people that are in the industry, they're watching this conversation too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
And they're looking at you as the person that makes their job a lot easier. Because in the commercial that's going to hit in 3, 2, 1, it's like, yo, listen, we are the #1 processing company in the world. If you're really looking to make some residual income, you need to come over here because we are solving a big problem. Look at all the issues with Stripe. Look at all the issues with PayPal. Our company solves that problem, and there are millions of digital entrepreneurs that are looking for the solution. I'm actually walking you into money. So if you're looking for a new career, join us or whatever.
What do you say?
You understand what I'm saying?
That's fire. That's exactly right. That's awesome.
Conversation.
Yeah.
There's a problem here.
Sure. Yeah.
And if you're one solving the problem, there's going to be some people that work for Stripe that say, yo, I got a headache. All these people calling me about us holding their money. There's nothing I can do about it.
You're right.
I want to work for this guy.
Yeah. Man. Yeah, okay. The seat doesn't feel as hot. I feel now that like maybe I could just start taking what you're saying and do it. Sure. So I appreciate that. I honestly appreciate you agreeing to come on and talk with us and have this conversation. It is a major blessing. So what's next then for that person? Should they start their own podcast or what? What do you?
Kind of depends on what their goal is. So if you have a business, you should start a podcast to promote the business. Podcasting is a booming industry.
Sure.
So there's a lot of people that make money in podcasting without having a podcast. If you have a podcast, one of your challenges may be finding the right person.
Yeah, that's true.
So how do I find these entrepreneurs who are dealing with payment processing issues that don't mind sitting down, having a conversation about it? Well, I can be that for you, meaning you can hire me to make sure I fill your guest seats with people. And I make money doing that.
Yeah.
Or there's a lot of coaches and consultants that are looking for podcasts to get on. So me being the middleman, I find those people to connect to it, and they pay me too.
Yes.
So there's people making money in the podcasting space because there are a lot of people that need guests and there's a lot of people that want to be guests. And if I can make those marriages, I can make millions.
Yeah. No, that's amazing.
There's a lot in these 2 days we're going to be teaching.
Okay.
Are you coming?
Yeah, of course.
All right, there we go. PodcastSummit.com.
I think, one of my good buddies, Brendan Boyd.
Did I close him?
No,
Did I close him? He's actually speaking. I'll tell the Brendan this morning.
Yeah. No, Brendan's a good buddy of mine. And anyway, so he's actually one of the reasons that got inspired me to transition from, Bible podcast to kind of hit both worlds. Because once they come into my world, then they're gonna get my character
for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, all right, well, man, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here.
Exactly, bro.
Bless you, brother. Thank you guys for tuning in. What an experience. My head's spinning a little bit. I do need to get my ducks in.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, mission accomplished. So it's a good time. Bless you guys. We'll see you on the next one.